Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. So we're up to day 25 of our Vraja-mandala Parikrama. And yesterday we had a very wonderful long day in Nandagaon. But today we're not going anywhere. We're simply going to sit and listen to my Gurudev speak the Damodarastakam, explanation of the second verse. We'll just hear that today. And we'll see how nectarine that pastime really is. So we'll have our kirtan first.
Nama Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Vivedanta Narayana Namine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Messiah Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajarine Nirvishesha Sunyavani Paschachari Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Haribo. Nama
Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Vishnaya Bhutale Shri Madhvi Pragyana Deshavaditi Namine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Messiah Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Sana Swati Namine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Muninda Vrindavandite Triloka Shoka Harini Prashanga Vakta Pangaja Nikunja Bhuvilasi Prajendra Manurangini Prajendra Sura Sangate Kadakari Srihamam Vipaka Kashabashanam Ashoka Vishavalari Vitana Nanda Bhasite Prabhalavam Allavam Prabhavinam Yoromale Paramaya Spuraskare Prabhuta Sampadalaye Kadakari Srihamam Vipaka Kashabashanam Anantaraya Mangala Prasanga Bandara Bhuvam Savibramam Sasambhamam Diganta Balapatana Irantaram Yoshikita Pratitinam Nandane Gadadalisya Siyamam Kripada Shabashanam Sampaja Pradipta Goda Vigrahe Mukha Prada Pradasta Joti Sharadan Mangale Chitra Chitra Sancharat Chakora Savalochane Radharishya Siyamam Kripajatam Shabhajanam Yogane Pramodamana Mandite Priyanuragorangite Kalavilasa Pandite Ananya Dhanya Kunjara Jakamate Itovite Radharishya Sriyamam Vipatakshamajamam Bhava Gira Gira Hara Bhusite Prabhuta Sata Tumba Tumba Tumbi Tumba Sustani Shastamanda Hasya Churna Purna Sarvya Sadaleka Jagarisya Srihamam Kripada Kasya Bharjanam Vala Vallari Taranga Ranga Dolate Nakarya Lasya Lola Nila Lochana Pranokane Lalalam Nilanga Nodya Munda Mohani Kashike Nagarisya Sriramam Kripada Dakshabhajanam Kanchita Trireka Kambu Mangale Trisutra Mangalina Tiratnadi Kalola Nila Kuntala Pasuna Kuchakam Vite Nagarisya Sriyamam Vipata Takshabhajanam Mangalamana Pushpamegaladune Prashastarana Kalapamajamandule Karindarunda Dandita Varoha Sobhadalute Nagarisya Sriyamam Vipata Takshabhajanam Radhamantu Gurulala Vaskala Samadharajamam Shavam Samittanasi Gaurave Vilola Hema Valladi Vidambika Vrutangrame Kadari Sriramam Vipaka Takshabhajanam Vishnulokanam Rapamajashite Imarika Unomadam Virinshaka Prabhapade Apara Siddhi Vindhi Viktasa Madam Yolinate Kadagari Sriyamam Vipata Takshabhajanam Vishwari, Sareshwari, Sareshwari, Vivera Bharateshwari, Ramanasaswari, Rameshwari, Rameshwari, Pramodakaneshwari, Krisheshwari, Pracharite, Shirarite, Namaste. Rupam Sava Nishangavam Sucharu Mangalam Sukana Ratna Kundalam Suchati Banga Chandanam Namami Nandanam Sudirganeta Pankajam Shikishikanda Madhajam Nandanam Namami Nandanam Sunasikagramoktikam Satangadantapantikam Navambudam Dachitanam Namami Nandanam Karena Vendaranjitam Jatikirandaganjitam Sukulam Ashovanam Namami Nandanam Vimamradeha Sundaram Nakaduti Sudakaram Amulya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanam Sugandha Anga Saurabham Uro Virajika Supam Urashri Vatsalansanam Namami Nandanam Sudayanam Vilasayuga Vasasam Surendranavamoshanam Namami Nandanam Chandana Sunayakam Sarasuta Pradayakam Jagannavam Valoranam Namami Nandanam Janashakam Aderyashakayam Vikam Narevaram Vindusharam Navetaram Yudhatam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jai Gaura Hariga, 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 Hariga,
Gauda Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Kirit Hari. Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Radha Govinda Ju Ki Jai. Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai. Damada Brat Ki Jai. Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishima Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishima Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishima Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishima Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Vedantacharya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Traya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarab Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikhosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shishi Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Jamuna Ki Jai. Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai. Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Nam Bhajan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Nishingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Gopishra Mahadev Ki Jai. Punamasi Dev Maharani Ki Jai. Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautandvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritudvip Janadvip Motandvip Mudavip Abhinavadvip Dham Ki Jai. Bandiravan, Badravan, Bailvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kadyavan, Kamyavan, Brajamandal Ki Jai. Udjabrat Ki Jai. Niyamaseva Ki Jai. Chatumasya Brat Ki Jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Gauda Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Aginatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadavaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamanapetyam Apetykrityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tamaya Tayo Taravo Benedustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartilo Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Svabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Dudikatamba Sadikita Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadita Rangamadye Kripa Mahitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Paradram Tato Mamanasti Katina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsada Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsada Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And unto all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the esteemed Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vansha kalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhuvevicha, patitanam pavanivyo Vaishnavevyo namaha. So today we're going to read from the beautiful Damodarastakam compilation of lectures by my Gurudev on Damodarastakam. It's kind of like I'm feeling a little bit unhappy that we haven't been able to discuss more frequently these Damodar prayers, but we've had such a packed Parikrama program, so we haven't actually had time available to go through the Damodarastakam. But every time we just touch it a little bit, it just blossoms out into such a remarkable astakam that Satyabrat Muni manifested from the core of his heart in his affection for that remarkable form of the Lord as Balagopal. And if we consider just for a moment the 8 verses together, and then we'll come to the second verse, because we haven't been regularly going through them. So we can appreciate in the first verse, in the first line, it was like a Mongol Acharyan, and we discussed something of the Aishwarya aspect of worshipping the Lord, this Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, and what is the nature of that Lord in that awe and majesty mood of Lord Narayan, practically, or Dwarkadish. So this was the established platform that Satyabrat Muni creates for us to stand on for the proceeding, very rapidly evolving, sweet Rasik pastimes that Satyabrat Muni is going to unfold. So straight after that first line, we come to the form of the Lord. It's remarkable. We go from such a strong platform of Aishwarya, then coming straight to these beautiful earrings that are kissing the cheeks of baby Krishna as he's running. So we immediately get this image completely madhurya within the Braj Mandal mood, within the Gokul mood of um, madhurya, this speciality of Krishna as a little child with these beautiful polished earrings, kissing his cheeks. And then we roll into the pastime straight away with Mother Yashoda chasing him. So immediately it's like such a dynamic astakam, the way that it unfolds. So then Mother Yashoda, and it's describing in the last line, she caught him from behind because she could run faster than him, because her love for Krishna is more than his love for her. This is what the description is by the acharyas, to appreciate that, because Mother Yashoda's affection for her child Krishna was so intensely strong, and she was so eager, that she was only because of this utkanta, this lobh, Mai, she was able to capture Krishna from behind. From behind, it's saying. And this is that Krishna that the yogis are aspiring for millions of years, that the Gyanis are also trying to connect with, etc. But Mother Yashoda, through her, the potency of her affection and attraction. So this whole astakam is only about churning the blissful moods of Braj. This is actually what principally the first half of the 10th canto is about. This is what Shukadev Goswami is giving. This is all from the 9th chapter of the 10th canto, this pastime. So, and then we come in to the second verse, and this is describing the more excellence of this lila in this second verse, which we're going to look at today. This is very, very special. This is Rudanta. Krishna is rubbing his eyes, and he's rubbing his eyes either because he wants to produce more tears to let Mother Yashoda feel sorry for him. That's the trick of little children. They want to cry very loudly so that their mother won't hit them. He's only concerned with the stick because he's looking at the stick. So this is the intimacy of this pastime being described. So he's seeing the stick in his mother's hand and he's crying and he's rubbing his eyes, either because tears are really coming and he wants to see outside, or he's rubbing them to create more tears coming. Somehow or other, he wants to stop that stick coming down on him. So this is his mood. And this is so intimate, really, that Satyabrat Muni is revealing and seeing in his vision of this pastime. And then in the third verse, iti driksva lilabhya ananda, ananda kunde. This kund is filled with anand. And this verse is describing what we call swarasiki upasana. This is when many leelas will manifest. The previous verse, that Rudantam, Muhur, the second verse, is described as mantra upasana. This is when only one pastime is predominating the consciousness. But Swarasiki, which is considered even higher, is when many pastimes tumble into the consciousness simultaneously. The sadhak becomes totally intoxicated with a continuous stream of pastimes. And my Gurudev, in this particular verse, in this description, he describes 13 different childhood leelas of Krishna in this particular verse, this verse 3. So we're hearing this. This is how the whole Astakam is evolving. It's becoming more and more sweet and specialized. Now, the fourth verse is remarkable because here Satyabrat Muni is saying, I don't want moksha, varam deva moksha, navaksham advimba. He doesn't want that. And he doesn't even want navada bhakti, shravanam, kirtanam, vishnu, smaranam, padasa, etc. He doesn't want that. So what is it that he just wants to see the beautiful form of that Bala Gopal. This is all he wants to see. In the fourth verse, it's describing like that. So this is actually describing very clearly the nature of Raga Anuga Bhakti. We understand from Shastra that, practically speaking, there was no Rag Marg prior to Mahaprabhu. Because who was going to describe this, the nature of Raganuga Bhakti? Who was going to describe that? So Satyabrat Muni, he has this spurti in his heart where he's able to describe this. But it's not entirely the same because it's not including what Mahaprabhu has come to give, which is this Parakiya Ras. This is not included here. It is a little bit hinted at in the very last verse. But in this verse, he's rejecting even Vaikuntha and rejecting moksha in particular. And his one focused attention is just on Ragmarg. And then in the sixth verse, there's, the fifth verse, then there's an intensity of this, because now he's not just focusing on the form of Krishna, but he's focusing on the beautiful face of Krishna and his beautiful glossy locks of hair that are surrounding that face. So now it's become even more prominent and focused. And then in the sixth verse, he decides that the only method to attain Krishna is Sankirtan. This, what's that? Ananda, that sixth verse. You remember, somebody? Ananta Vishnu. Yes. Namo Deva Damodaran Ananta Vishnu. Prasida Prabhu Dukkha Jalabdi Magnam. So these are mentioning so many different names of the Lord. This is Sankirtan Ras. This is Sankirtan. So he's really determined to achieve his goal here. So then in the seventh verse, we go back to the pastime and the origin of the pastime. about Nalagriva and Manikuvera, these two principal sons of Kuvera, who were cursed by Narad. So now we're coming back into the Leela, and we're appreciating that Satyabrat Muni is saying, well, if you can benedict these two rascals, because they were definitely sinful rascals, enjoying in front of Narad Rishi, not even being shy to cover themselves up, etc. This is why they were cursed. So um, if they were if they got prem, because they do get prem, they get the forms of Madhukanta and Madhusnigdha, and they are reciting these beautiful pastimes in Braj. That was their desire, to speak these narrations. So if they could get it, then why not me? So Satyabrat Muni is saying like this, and then in the 8th verse, it's describing about the rope around the belly of the Lord and pulling the trees down. And this is becoming really confidential now, because now Sri Radhika is mentioned in Satyabrat Muni's vision, in his spurti. So try to just appreciate a little bit. I've only said such a tiny little bit of the skeleton, but this is the way that this whole Astakam is evolving through various stages of greed. This is the principal um, dynamic of this Astakam, is to see this progression of intensity, of sweetness, increasing. And this is the path of Ragmarg. This is why we sing it every single day in the month of Kartik, to get that mercy. So this is just a little skeleton. Now I want to come back to the 2nd verse, where we read the 1st verse together earlier on. So I want to read today from the 2nd verse. And I was thinking that we're not going to get any more time during our Kartik Parikrama on this live stream thread to speak about the Damodarastakam. Tomorrow we go to Varshana. The next day we celebrate Gokashodas Babaji and Bhakti Dvaita Madhav Maharaj. The day after that, I think we go to Jabat. So, and the day after that, I think we have Pramod Puri Maharaj's glorification. And so there's no more time left, so to speak. So what I've tried to present today is something of a meditation for us on the 8 verses to capsulate, because really the purport, the meaning will only come from the appreciation of all the 8 verses together, to see like this wave of transcendental sweetness that is manifesting through these words by Satyabrat Muni. But I thought if we go into one verse carefully, then at least we're getting some quality taste for the whole Astakam from one verse. So we've already described the 1st verse, and now I thought today we'd go into this 2nd verse. So Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, in his Digdarshani Tika, he brings out many points from the 9th chapter itself. He makes many references to the Bhagavatam and begins to bring out the speciality of the entire Leela as it's spoken in the Bhagavatam. And principally, he's highlighting this Bhakta Vatsalya, Bhakta Vashyata Vesha, Vishesh, sorry, my eyesight's not so good today. This Bhakta Vishyata Vishesh, this speciality of being controlled by his devotees, his loving devotees. This is, we discussed already, the distinction of Vrindavan, of Madhurya Dham, compared to Aishwarya Dham. So we should appreciate that within the world, only a very small percentage of serious sadhaks can appreciate the nature of this Braja Ras or Madhurya realm. Most are still honoring the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're not actually entering into this Madhurya realm significantly. This is the truth. So most are more focused on the um, Bhagavad Gita, etc., and Krishna in Kurukshetra and these pastimes, which are significant, of course, and create the platform for this Madhurya. But Mahaprabhu himself, he's come to lift the veil of this um, uh, Aishwarya and bring us in to the rag world of Bhakti Ras. So this is what um, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj is basically discussing in his commentary at the beginning. And now I'm going to start from page 40, which is the Digdarshani Briti by my Gurudev. And I'll read some of this, and then I'm going to jump through to the end of this um, uh, verse so we can get some quality picture of this verse, verse 2. So we're doing this one. So now my Gurudev describes, on this day, Sri Krishna, the personality who causes the three worlds to tremble merely by the movement of his eyebrows, has become overwhelmed by fear of his mother. Seeing the tiny stick in her hand, he is trembling and stammers, "Mother, look, do not hit me. I did not break the pot of yogurt." So this is remarkable appreciation. This is what we actually got from the very first verse. Namamishwaram Satchidan, this supreme personality of Godhead. And then in 3 lines further down, he's running away from his mother. How can that happen? How is it possible if he's the supreme personality of Godhead and at the same time be running away from the stick in his mother's hand? So there's a beautiful verse actually in the 3rd canto, 4th chapter, verse 16. Karamani anihasya bhavo bhavasyate durgashraya tari bhayat pralayanam kalatmanam yat pramod yuteshram swatman rate kidyati dira vidam iha. This Uddhav, he's speaking this to Vidura, and he's astonished that how is it possible? Karamani anihasya, this personality takes birth, but he doesn't take birth. He works and he doesn't work. He's fear personified, yet he hides in a fortress in Dwarka from his enemies. And he's the most renounced, yet he lives in an ashram with 16,108 queens. Scholars become bewildered when they hear such contradictions in the personality of the Lord. So this is what all of his pastimes are like, but particularly in Braj, because in Braj, he's immersed in this mood of mugdata. That means he's forgetting his nature of that supreme person completely. And all of his pastimes, even though he lives Govardhan Hill, even though he kills Putana, etc., but we've described before, the Brijbasis, they still don't see him as the personality of Godhead because of their extreme affection for him. This is what we have to appreciate, that Braj mood is developed and manifests because of their affection for Krishna. That's why the Braj mood is there. They have so much mamata for Krishna. Krishna is our son. Krishna is my beloved, etc. So this mood of affection, such significant affection, is there in Braj. So this is an understanding beyond what Uddhav was able to comprehend that has been given in this Damodarastakam. So now my Gurudev goes on. Mother Yashoda is slightly full-figured. That means she was strong. As she was running, her braid came undone, and the flowers woven in her hair began falling out. It is as if the flowers were saying, "Mother, you are not alone. We are also with you." So the flowers are supporting and they're giving encouragement to Mother Yashoda. Those devotees who make their hearts spotless by endlessly drinking the nectar of devotion of Sri Krishna, imbued with extreme attachment and laced with renunciation of the material world, attain a state of meditating on Sri Krishna deep within their immaculate hearts, which are fully saturated by loving service. It's a very beautiful description of the nature of the devotee. who's able to conceive of these pastimes, great loving attachment. The Supreme Personality of God in the form of an Orion sometimes appears in the meditations of Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, and the four Kumaras, the original sages. Still, even in their deepest meditation, they cannot capture him in the form of Brajendra Nandan Sham Sundar. Even they have years, thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. Still, this form of Brajendra Nandan Sham Sundar, what to speak of Balagopal that we are describing here? It's so exclusive. The desire that Satyabrat Muni has, it's not a small desire at all. Maybe she needs some water, huh? Still, even in their deepest meditation, they cannot capture him in the form of Brajendranandan. Yet Mother Yashoda actually bound him, the complete embodiment of all nectarine humors of transcendental love. Unimaginably powerful warriors, despite their greatest valor, pose no threat to Krishna. But Mother Yashoda not only captured him, she brandished a small stick in her hand and threatened him. Shall I beat you now? So Krishna is afraid of this. He's afraid of his mother. As Kanaya rubbed his tear-filled eyes and tried to hide behind his mother, we can imagine a small child trying to hide behind his mother's skirts. He cried out, "Mother, do not hit me." He did not look directly at her. He only fearfully looked at her stick in her hand. "You monkey friend," she exclaimed. "Chore, thief." To this, Krishna immediately replied, "Mother, there is no chore in my dynasty. There is only a chore in your dynasty." Chore is thief. There's only a chore in your dynasty. "Oh, really?" she retorted. "If you did not steal the butter, then who was feeding the monkeys?" Kanai replied, "He who made the monkeys was feeding them." Krishna's so cheeky. He's so tricky. "Oh, is that so?" she said. "Tell me frankly, who broke this pot?" "Look, mother, when you ran to save the milk, your large ankle bells hit the pot and it broke." "Then how did you get butter all over your face?" she asked. "Mother, the monkeys were eating the butter, so I was trying to scare them away. As they were running, they smeared butter all over my mouth." It's like when Krishna turns up to see Radhika and he's covered in all these marks of his amorous pastimes, and he says he got lost in the way coming to the Kunja. He just says these bold lies. Like, hearing this exchange, all the gopis began to laugh. All the gopis are there. They're seeing this. "I am not about to set you free so easily," Mother Yashoda said. "I am going to tie you up." Mother Yashoda's mood was grave. She was thinking, if I don't chastise him, she thought, he will become quite a troublemaker. With this in mind, she decided to bind him. Although Sri Krishna started to cry, she did not let him go. She thought to herself, I will keep him tied up for a while, and when I have finished churning the yogurt, I will untie him and feed him butter and breast milk to calm him down. Mother Yashoda considered, Krishna is Kala, a cunning and mischievous thief, and his accomplice is this Ulutkal, this grinding mortar. Both deserve to be punished. I will tie them together in such a way that Krishna cannot untie himself from the mortar. Thinking thus, she proceeded to bind him. Tad dharma badhyamanansya sva bhakasya kritagasya dhyan gulan ma bhutena sadande nachye gopika, from Bhagavatam 10:9-15, which is the translation is this: when Mother Yashoda tried to bind her mischievous child, the rope was 2 fingers too short, so she tied it to another rope. She had removed the silk ribbon from her braid in order to bind Krishna with it. Other than the gold chain around his waist, Krishna was quite naked. Although his tiny waist measured no more than 12 fingers, the ribbon could not be made to bind him. It was 2 fingers too short. Mother Yashoda asked her friend for another rope, but that was also too short. Time and again she gathered and added more rope, but it was always too short, and only 2 fingers too short, not more, not less. There is an esoteric meaning to this. One finger represents the sadhak's endeavor, and the other finger represents the Lord's mercy, Sri Bhagavan, represents the Lord's mercy. Sri Bhagavan becomes controlled by his devotee only when both of these elements are present together. So you understand these 2 fingers. So the kripa, the mercy, or the endeavor. So which is the most important, or is one of them the most important, or do both have to be present? Both need to be present. So my Gurudev gives a very wonderful illustration here. He says in the Ramanuja Sampradaya, it's divided in two according to whether they emphasize the Vedic scripture or the Tamil scripture. The former are known as Vadakalai. Vadakalai are from the Vedic teachings. And the latter, the Tamil, are known as Tenakalai. So these two distinctions. They have distinct opinions regarding the means of ultimate attainment. This is fascinating. The view of Vadakalai Ramanujas is based on grace arising from a cause. Their stance is compared to Markata Nyaya, the analogy of a baby monkey clinging to his mother for protection. The baby monkey is clinging strongly to the mother. When the mother monkey moves about with her baby, she makes no effort to hold him. Instead, the baby clings onto her as she leaps from tree to tree. If he falls, his mother will never accept him back again. So the baby is performing all the effort to hold on to the mother. Whereas the other side, conversely, the view of the Tenakalai Ramanujas is based on causeless grace. Their stance is compared to Madhurya Nyaya, the analogy of a cat carrying a kitten in her mouth. The mother cat picks her kitten up with her teeth and carries him about. The kitten doesn't make any effort and goes wherever she takes him. So see the two distinct analogies, one the monkey and one the kitten. Thus, the followers of the Vedakalai school strive for the grace of Bhagavan by their own efforts, and conversely, the followers of the Tenakalai school rely solely on faith in the causeless grace of Bhagavan, considering their own endeavors ineffective. It's a very important point indeed. Are we going to just be submissive and say, yes, Krishna will do everything? Krishna will carry me through. Krishna will lead me. My Gurudev used to say regularly, I can show you the path, but you have to walk on it. You have to walk on it yourself. And I've stressed this point many times, how the independence of the gopis, when they heard the flute song, for example, they all ran alone to the forest. So this understanding of finding our own inner strength is very important, because what else are we going to offer Krishna? Tomorrow we're going to walk through the narrow gorge of Sankarikor between the Vishnu Parvat and the Brahma Parvat mountains there. And only one person can ever go through at a time. So this appreciation of our own individuality must be there and developed to come to Krishna. If we're just thinking, oh, Krishna is going to give me everything, I'm like a baby, I can't do anything, then how are we going to proceed? The Gaudiya Vaishnava school asserts that both views are necessary. We need to be submissive, and we need to be perform our endeavor to act. The chesta and the kripa, that's what the 2 fingers represent. The effort by the sadhak and the kripa, the reciprocation. It's just like in any sort of relationship. You will make an endeavor for the relationship, and you're waiting for the reciprocation from the person that you're making the relationship with, right? So the two have to be there. So the Vaishnava school asserts that both views are necessary. The following analogy is given to illustrate this stance. A person who has fallen into a well will cry, "Please help me, pull me out." Then from above, someone may lower a rope into the well and say, "I am lowering down a rope. Catch hold of it, and I will pull you out." However, if the person in the well does not catch hold of the rope, how will he be freed? So we have to make an effort to catch hold of the rope. So the mercy is coming. At the same time, it's dependent on Krishna's grace. So both. From his end, he must hold the rope, and from above, he must be pulled out. Very clear, very simple, but not so easy to actually incorporate practically into our every moment of our lives, to understand that the Kripa of Krishna is always present. But what is my reciprocation towards that Kripa? How much am I reciprocating with the Kripa that is coming to me? Now is the month of Kartik. So much mercy is showering down, literally. How much am I running out in that shower and bathing myself fully, fully, fully? Always the sadhak, his nature is to feel he's making a shortfall. If he felt, yes, I'm capitalizing on everything, all the mercy that is there, then either he'll become proud of that, or there'll come a cessation of his enthusiasm, because he'll think that he's actually achieved something. You understand? For rag to exist, there has to be a mood, well, I haven't reached that goal. Like Mother Yashoda, her affection for Krishna, when those demons were taking Krishna, like Putana and Trinavrata, what was her first thought? I am not a good enough mother for Krishna. Providence has taken my child away because I wasn't good enough. What do the gopis think when they're rejected by Krishna in that Pranaya Geet? They're thinking our prem is not sufficient for Krishna. Therefore, their prem is going to increase. And Mother Yashoda, she's thinking like that. Therefore, her prem will increase. The sadhak is thinking he's not sufficiently developed. He's not sufficiently enthusiastic. Therefore, he will increase his enthusiasm. You see? Not that we just sit in that darkness of mental sort of dejection and don't move forward with it. We have to take inspiration and move forward. So these two paths, this the kitten, Majara Nyaya, and the Marketa Nyaya, the kitten and the monkey, are given to illustrate this. And the analogy of the person in the well. In this example, the person in the well cries out for help and later firmly catches hold of the rope. These endeavors are the means of his deliverance. In other words, they are his sadhan. From above, the person who is trying to pull him out is bestowing causeless mercy. For someone helplessly fallen in the well of material existence, Sri Bhagavan's causeless mercy descends, just like this rope, and by performing sadhan, one takes hold of that rope and achieves service to his lotus feet. So this is a good appreciation of the two ends being 2 inches too short of the rope. Mother Yashoda did not give up in her attempt to bind Krishna. She kept trying. All the gopis began to clap their hands and say, "Oh, Mother, the Creator has not written on this boy's forehead that he will be bound. So how are you able to tie him up?" Mother Yashoda felt ashamed. This is so embarrassing, she thought. I have not been able to bind the child that came from my own womb. This is how Mother Yashoda is feeling. Taking shelter of Bhagavan Sri Narayan, she silently began to pray. "Oh Narayan, please help me. If I cannot bind this boy today, it will be so shameful for me. Protect my honor." Her face had become reddish like the rising sun, and drops of perspiration had begun to roll down her face like pearls. Bhagavatam describes this. Sri Krishna saw that his mother's body had become drenched with perspiration. The garlands woven into her braid had fallen out, and she had become utterly exhausted. Seeing his mother's fatigue, little Krishna compassionately allowed himself to be bound. So we should understand that Krishna was very determined not to be bound. He had an agenda for that day. He had to steal some more butter, and he had to play with his friends. He already had a plan for the day, and it was not going to be foiled by Mother Yashoda. So he was very attached to that plan. So Yogamaya was going to fulfill that desire of Krishna. So that desire of Krishna was completely stopping Mother Yashoda from binding Krishna, because Yogamaya was not allowing Krishna to be bound, because Krishna has his agenda for the day. But when Krishna sees the hard labor of Mother Yashoda, my Gurudev describes this takes a long time, this pastime. It's not quick, it's a few hours. Mother Yashoda is struggling. She gets all the rope from the neighborhood to actually bind together, to try to. Mother Yashoda becomes completely confused and bewildered, but she doesn't give up her effort to bind her child, because Krishna is always her child. It never slips over into Aishwarya. Or what is the nature of this person that I'm trying to bind? Perhaps this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If she thought that for a fraction of a moment, then all her motherly Vatsalya Bhav would just be washed away. And that, like Devaki in Mathura, she doesn't have a sesame seed of that same Vatsalya Bhav that Mother Yashoda had. Mother Yashoda is the embodiment of that Vatsalya Bhav. So she's absolutely determined to bind her child, even though he appears as if he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She's still going to bind him. So when that Karuna Shakti is inspired in the heart of Krishna, baby Krishna, when he sees the suffering and intense greed of his mother to bind him, then he allows her to be bound. This is the point. It's this compassion. This the compassion chases away that um, uh, desire of Krishna to play with his friends. He even gives that up. Sadhaks should perform sadhan bhajan with the same unwavering determination and hard endeavor. Then Krishna's heart will melt, and he will be compelled to bestow his sublime devotional service upon them. This devotional service has to be bestowed upon the sadhak. We don't know how to perform devotional service. Krishna will give us the inspiration to perform devotional service that will be pleasing. Anukulyena Krishnanu will be pleasing to Krishna. Ahoitiki bhakti. How can we have this ahoitiki bhakti? Najanam nasundarim, kavitam ba jagadishvakame, mamani jamanishvare, bhavavat bhakti ahoitiki toyi. This ahoitiki bhakti, this bhakti that is without no desire whatsoever, just to please, unalloyed, yes, this unalloyed devotion to Krishna with no no desire. Everything we've been brought up with in this material world all has a price on it. It all has, I'm doing something because I want something. Even in family life, I'm loving my husband, I'm loving my wife, I'm loving my children, for I want my children to be the best children. I want to please satisfy my wife, so she will also satisfy me. It's all like a business arrangement. Ultimately, subtly, underneath everything is like that. We've all got some agenda there. But with Krishna, there's ahoitiki, this unalloyed, this without cause devotion. That means I have no attraction for any type of exploitation of this material world at all. So this is a very purified state of consciousness. Then Krishna's heart will melt, and he will be compelled to bestow his sublime devotional service upon them. Indeed, when Krishna saw his mother's firm resolve, his heart melted, and his topmost potency, his mercy, the totality of his powers combined. My Gurudev says the totality of his powers combined, then manifested his bhakta vatsalyata, being controlled by his bhaktas. Just like the gopis are described, this samartha rati. This samartha rati is the rati of the gopis, the queens of Dwarka, Their rati is Samanjasa rati. It can't control Krishna. Kubja's rati is Sadarani rati. This can't control Krishna also. Only the gopis rati can control Krishna. That's Samartha rati. But less than that, it can't control Krishna. His Bhakta Vatsalyata, his affection for his devotees, at that very moment, his Aishwarya Shakti, his potency of supreme majesty, disappeared, and he allowed himself to be bound. Mother Yashoda made an intense endeavor with unflinching resolve. Following her example, sadhak should try to melt Sri Krishna's heart by practicing devotional service that is imbued with characteristics like sincere, loving emotions, bhav, with great enthusiasm and anxiousness, utkanta, a deep sense of closeness and relationship, sambandha, a feeling of possessiveness, mamata, and intense affection for him, priti, they should compel him to engage them in loving service to him. So these principal points, this bhav, this utkantika, sambandha, and mamata and priti, these points are very important for the sadhak to appreciate. We have to make this effort in our sadhana to attain this stage that Satyabrat Muni is bringing out in relationship to the beautiful, sweet form of the Lord, to capture him. So now there's more pastimes about Mother Yashoda, etc. And she's binding Krishna, and Mother Yashoda wound the rope around Krishna's belly, tied him to the grinding mortar, and then went to churn the yogurt, her mind remaining on her son all the while. Just then, Dam, Sridam, Sudam, Madhumangal, and Krishna's other sakhas arrived. Mother Rohini also returned from Nanda Bhavan, from the house of Upananda, along with her son, Sri Baladev Prabhu, who then entered the group of sakhas. When he saw that his little brother was tied up and that he was crying, he became furious. Tears mixed with black cosmetic ointment were streaming down Krishna's eyes. On one side, where the ointment had totally washed away, it looked like the clear river Ganga, and on the other side, his tears were dark from mixing with the ointment. It looked like the blackish Yamuna. These two rivers were cascading onto his chest. Enraged, Baladev Prabhu asked Kanaya and the Sakhas, who bound him? Baladev Prabhu thought, whoever has bound my Kanaya, I will punish him this very day. Then Madhu Mangal whispered into Baladev's ear, it was Mother Yashoda who bound Krishna. As soon as he heard Mother Yashoda's name, he became silent. Baladev is very afraid of Mother Yashoda, and so is Krishna. This is the relationship. After a few moments, he tried to open the knot. However, he was unable to untie Mother Yashoda's strong knot. This is because the love of devotees in Vatsalya Ras, parental love, is superior to the love of devotees in Sakya Ras, friendship. Incidentally, had Baladev Prabhu been situated in his form of Ananga Manjari, wherein he is devoted to Krishna in the highest ras, Madhurya Ras, conjugal love, he could have untied the knot. But although all the sakhas kept working together to untie Krishna, they were not successful. Nobody could untie it. Sri Krishna gradually stopped crying. Even he was unable to set himself free. Come on, the sakhas told him. We will tip over the grinding mortar and drag it out into the courtyard and play. At that moment, he remembered the incident that occurred long ago between the two sons of Kuvera and his dear devotees. And he thought, Devarshi Narad is my most dear devotee. Therefore, even though these two brothers, the sons of the most wealthy demigod, Kuvera, had no devotion for me, still I must fulfill Narad's words by by appearing directly before them and granting them devotional service to me. Again, this is his Karuna Shakti. So now it's going to describe about Kuvera being a dear friend of Narad and the two sons, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, and that pastime. I'm going to leave that pastime because I want to finish this verse, this chapter today. So I'm going to go ahead um, to where the, where is it? Um, so there's a beautiful conversation between um, Nalokuvera and Manigriva, and then it's going to describe Krishna bestowing this prem on these two demigods. But prior to that, of course, is the crashing down of the two trees. When they're pushing that utkal, that grinding mortar, it gets stuck. The two trees it's described here, they have a lifespan of 15 million Earth years. It's 100 celestial years. But in earthly years, it's 15 million Earth years. And the two trees together, they're like fused at the bottom. So the grinding mortar got stuck between the two trees. So these trees are millions of years old, huge, huge trees. And when this grinding mortar got stuck, then Krishna just pulled a little bit and the two trees crashed to the ground. So what happens now is extraordinary to appreciate. So Nanda Baba came running after he heard the deafening crash made by the massive Arjun trees as they fell. He saw Kanaya, still tied up, standing between the fallen trees. Nanda Baba was shaken to see Krishna standing so close to the fallen trees and thought, today Sri Narayan has given us so much protection. What would have happened if Kanaya had been underneath these trees when they fell? So this is all enhancing the greed for the residents of Vrindavan to protect and nurture their dear son. That's the mood that they have towards Krishna. Mother Yashoda also came running. When she saw the horrible scene, she entered into shock. Aghast, she thought, alas, what has happened? So Mother Yashoda, of course, is going to feel guilty simultaneously as feeling shocked, because she will naturally think it was my fault that this actually happened, because she is responsible for binding Krishna to the grinding mortar. Nanda Baba asked the children, how did this happen? In their broken language, the children explained, Baba, as soon as Kanaya pulled the grinding mortar against the two trees, they fell over and two very beautiful people came out. They looked like demigods. They folded their hands and offered prayers to Kanaya, and then they circumambulated him. Then they went north. So this is what the children are saying, but Nanda Baba doesn't always believe the children, of course. But Nanda Baba was not convinced. He took Krishna on his lap. Krishna had been keeping silent till now, but as soon as he sat on his father's lap, he burst into tears and began to wail. It's another trick of Krishna's. Krishna's just so tricky. He knows how to capture. Began to wail. When Nanda Baba and the cowherd boys saw Krishna crying, tears also started streaming from their own eyes. Nanda Baba pacified his darling son and untied the knot. The knot that bound Krishna was factually made of Vatsalya Ras, not rope. Consequently, only his associates in Vatsalya Ras or Madhurya Ras, conjugal love, had the power to untie such a knot. Krishna's friends in Sakya Ras and his servants in Dasya Ras, or those situated in a passive or neutral relationship with him in Shanta Ras, could not have untied the knot tied by Mother Yashoda. Even within Vatsalya Ras, there is a gradation. The love of Mother Yashoda, who actually bound Krishna, is superior to the love of Nanda Baba, who released him. When Mother Yashoda saw what had happened to her Kanaya, she could not move. She simply stood there like a statue. She could not even cry. Nanda Baba made Kanaya a little peaceful and then gave him a sweet laddu from his cloth bag. Kanaya, he asked, tell me who tied you up? Mother, Kanaya replied. Becoming silent, Nanda Baba then resolved to punish Mother Yashoda with the greatest punishment a loved one can give. For the entire remainder of that day, Nanda Baba did not speak a single word to her. In a grave mood, he took Krishna and Balaram in his arms and went to bathe in Brahman Ghat. After everyone had bathed, he returned with them to the Goshala. Meanwhile, Mother Yashoda had become as dry and lifeless as a piece of dry wood. Mother Yashoda is in complete shock. And on top of that, her husband, her most revered husband, is not even speaking to her. In the Goshala, Nanda Baba filled Krishna and Balaram's bellies by giving them rock candy and squirting milk into their mouths directly from the cow's udders. It's called liquid gold. And you take it straight from the udder. You don't need to boil it or anything. It comes straight from the udder. This is liquid gold. This is the most potent milk. When they came home, Mother Rohini served them food, and she had prepared, and Nanda Baba silently fed the children. After they had finished, he took some himself. Then they returned to the Goshala. In the evening, Upananda's wife came to Nanda Baba along with Mother Rohini and the other older ladies of Braj. Mother Rohini told Balaram, "Go now and bring Krishna." That day, however, Krishna had given Balaram such a push that he fell quite far backwards. Finally, Upananda's wife and Mother Rohini spoke to Kanaya. Look, Kanaya, see, Krishna was very disturbed with Balaram not coming to protect him. So when Balaram actually came to approach him, he pushed him far back. He was disturbed with, he wanted Balaram to be caught up in this circle, this well of love that they were creating, this pool of love. That day, however, Krishna had given Balaram such a push that he fell quite far backward. Finally, Upananda's wife and Mother Rohini spoke to Kanaya. Look, Kanaya, they said, your mother is crying so much. Go to her. No, I will not go, he answered. Then come to me, Rohini said. But Kanaya answered strongly, no, I won't go near you. When mother was tying me up, I called to you so loudly, but you did not come. I won't even go near you. With whom will you eat? Asked Mother Rohini. With father, he answered. With whom will you play? She asked. With Daubaya, my big brother Balaram. And with whom will you sleep? With father. Rohini said, until now, you have always slept next to your mother, but today you will sleep with your father? Your mother is crying for you. Then Nanda Baba, should I beat your mother? Upon hearing these words, Kanaya stopped his father's raised hand in answer. Then Rohini said, and if mother suddenly dies, then what? As soon as Krishna heard this, he burst into loud sobs and ran to Mother Rohini's lap. She brought him to Mother Yashoda, and when she placed him on Mother Yashoda's lap, Mother Yashoda began to weep very loudly. Shri Krishna also cried. Nanda Baba's heart melted, and he began to cry. Rohini and all the other residents of Braj who were gathered there also began to cry. Weeping filled the entire atmosphere. Finally, the respected elders of Braj pacified everyone. That night, when it was time for dinner, Nanda Baba told Kanaya, go and bring your mother to me. Shri Krishna immediately went and caught hold of his mother's veil, and although she hesitated to go, Krishna brought her to Nanda Baba. She served dinner to everyone, and they all took their meal with great joy. Thereafter, Mother Yashoda took Shri Krishna up in her arms and went to her bedroom. So just see the beauty and sweetness and speciality of this pastime, that the Rasik Vaishnavas can pull out of these pastimes. This is the words of my beloved Gurudev describing this pastime. So this is very beautiful. So like we described with all the different demons, these two twin Arjun trees are like demons in the same sense that they have the same purpose to evoke more of this prem from the heart, because prem is never static, it's only ecstatic. That means it always has to be growing and moving. How is it growing and moving? there's two ingredients. It's meeting and separation. So these meetings, this pastime here, the love between Mother Yashoda and Krishna is like a separation um, appreciation mood that is taking place here. So when there's union afterwards, how exalted and sweet is that reunion when they actually come back together again. And then the whole village, all the Brijvasis, they're all involved in this remarkable pastime. So this is how powerful this Damodarastakam is. So this is only the second verse. So I won't speak any more now. But the third verse, as I said, it describes like 13 different pastimes of Krishna as a child, because this is when we get to the Swarasiki Upasana. In this verse, it was just the single pastime, just the pastime of the trees crashing to the ground, etc. So today I'm going to stop a little bit early and we'll just leave it at the. But I hope that you've all appreciated at least a taste of the sweetness and speciality of this beautiful Damodarastakam book. And if you spend some time reading through this book, the juice and sweetness is overwhelming that my Gurudev pours forth for the happiness of the devotees' meditation on this pastime. Because we sing this Damodarastakam every single day. So I'm sure all of you, I hope, tonight, when we sing this pastime, will have a different appreciation from what we had previously. So this is how the devotee makes his progress, by hearing the sweet nature and specialities of this pastime from Satyabhat Muni. So I'll stop. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindhubevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha. So now we'll sing our Damodarastakam and remember the flow, those 8 verses, how they're connected, I said briefly, and especially this Rudantam Mukhur Netra. Krishna's rubbing his eyes like this. So we'll offer our
Param Sachidanandadupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Vraja-mandalam Kasharevi Yoluka Radhavamanam Param Samachanda Dodritagopya Rudantam Netra Rudantam Yoram Udayurvena Saranganetram Oshvasakam Bhati Ekankakanta Siddhartha-damodaram Bhaktivedanta Lila-Ananda Kunde Shami-Majantam Akhyapayantam Kadiyeshitageshu Bhakti-Jitangvam Puna-Prema-Tastam Satam-Iti-Vande Param Deva-Moksham Na-Moksha-Vadimma Natyam-Yamineham Varishvadapiya Idam Deva-Purnata Gopala-Balam Idam Deva-Tango-Jam Nilay Idam Deva-Laisita Rajastadokya Muhoshamitam Nimma-Rakadaranye Manasavirajam Shamasalavai Namo Deva Damodar Ananda Vishnu Rasina Prabodukta Jala Vinajam Radha Shri Krishna to Vinambatano Nyamangamanga Jam Shri Krishna Velama Jaumaya Jai Mayatma Vayam Hamito Bhakti Bhajavitata Sata Prema Bhakti Sakamai Prayacha Namaksha Home Sita Mokareha Namastu Damne Sporadipti Damne Vadi Yogaraya Vishwasya Damne Namo Radhikaya Kvasiya Priyaya Namo Mangalilaya Devaya Tokyam Namo Radhikaya Kvasiya Priyaya Namo Mangalilaya Devaya Tokyam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Jaya Radhe 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 Jai 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 Radhe 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 Jai 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 Radhe 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 Jai 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 Radhe 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Jai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo.
Srila Gurudev ki jai,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Damodarastakam ki jai,
Jai.
Vraja-mandala Parikrama ki jai,
Jai.
Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai,
Jai.
Shrimati Radharani Prishabhanandini
Jai.
Pajeshwari ki jai,
Jai.
Gauda Premanandi, Hari
Jai.
Hari
Hari
Bol,
Bol.
Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhaveva cha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.